I would argue that since what
Right.
communism itself is looking for is in fact that all private property is abolished and replaced by something that they call communal property or even commonwealth.
I'm sorry. What was that moment? What was that? What was that? You're fucking welcome. For people who don't know, part of the reason that we have been going to war with James Lindsay for a year is that James used to refuse to say the word capitalism. He refused to say it. And he refused to acknowledge that the left defines capitalism as private property ownership. He refused to do both these things. That was our original war with James. Was say capitalism, you lying fucking shill, and tell people what capitalism actually means. Now, James still doesn't know exactly what it means. James actually just defined private property incorrectly. James just defined private property incorrectly. But you know what? A year's worth of haranguing and we got him to say it. Finally. Fucking finally. Let's hear that again.
Since what
Right.
communism itself is looking for is in fact that all private property is abolished and replaced by.
Well, let's just stop there. What communism is looking for, it is true that all private property would be abolished. Again, private property is defined as bourgeois property. It's property that you can use to create generational wealth. That means your ability to own a home, your ability to own land, your ability to own an apartment that you rent out as a landlord, your ability to own intellectual property, your private businesses, whether those private businesses be big or small. Your parental rights are considered to be a form of private property. That's why the left is always attacking parental rights, because they consider it to be a form of private property, because it means you can pass down generational wealth. They also do want to destroy the nuclear family because they believe the nuclear family is the literal means of reproduction of capitalism. Your individual liberties, your freedom of speech, your freedom of religion, all that stuff too are considered to be forms of private property. That's a little bit more looser. We hardly ever hear them talk about that, but they have talked about it. We have it on video. That's what the left wants to abolish. They want to replace it with a form of collective ownership. This is what equity is, where everyone has access to all of the resources. Everyone would be allocated a home because there's no more home ownership. You don't get to pick out where you live. You're going to be allocated a home. Everyone would be allocated, like, land would go along with that. No more private ownership of land. All of the land comes under the collective care of the individual. Everyone would be required to go through compulsory K through 12 public education, no more private schools, no more homeschooling, no more charter schools. Everyone would be required to have universal health care, which would be free, abortion on demand, free and unlimited, all that stuff, trans surgery as much as you want, all that stuff, but free unlimited health care on demand, no private doctors, no private insurance. You get whatever the state says you get. Everyone would be allocated energy that would be provided by the state, no private energy providers. That means the state gets to decide if you heat your home in the winter. The state gets to decide how much gas you get to travel in your car. The state gets to decide whether you travel at all. Everyone would be, and this is the scariest one. Food would be controlled by the state. So no more private food ownership. The left considers farmers to be the original capitalists, because farmers were the original people who privatized the land to make money under capitalism, because they had to privatize the land to farm it, to sell stuff off it, stuff like that. So farmers are actually considered to be the original form of private property. So that's going to be abolished. That means the state takes over the production of all food. That means if you don't work and if you don't do what the state wants you to do, you don't eat. In addition to that, all money would be abolished, all banks would be abolished. They even want to abolish the private family kitchen. They even want to have all babies born outside the womb, because if you have all babies born outside the womb, we have birthing pods, and we have all, this is all documented. I'm not making any of this shit up. We have this all documented with primary source evidence. If you have babies born outside the womb, that means you're degendering birth, which means that you are eliminating gender as a thing, which means you're eliminating the gender binary and all this stuff. That's a little bit more of an advanced concept. I'm not going to go into it a lot right now unless people have questions, but that is what we're talking about. When the left says abolish private property, they mean everything. They mean everything. Let's see what James says it means.
By something that they call communal property or even commonwealth, that they are also, they sometimes call it the greater good, but they're still pushing for a common good in their sight. And I think that this is
no definition.
To get deeply philosophical about it, I think that there is a kind of deep idealism underlying both of these kinds of factions. They have an ideal vision for what society should look like, and of course, somehow they are so
No
elect as
definition
to
at
be able to
all.
tell everybody else what that society is supposed to look like and how it's supposed to work.